last day of break to do my homework. My twin, right? So what are you doing?
Oh, just all the homework that you asked me to do.
Oh, right, yeah. All that homework that I had to do. Sweet, thanks, bro. See you later. Oh, sweet. Don't have to do any of that homework anymore. Was that seriously just a dream? No way that was a dream. Man, I wish I had a twin that could do all this homework for me, just like in my dream last night.
Well, that sounds a lot like this book that I've been reading called The Comedy of Errors by William Shakespeare.
Really?
Yeah.
What's that book about?
Well, let me tell you.
William Shakespeare was born in Stratford-upon-Avon in 1564 to John, a glovemaker, and Mary. He grew up in a middle-class family and was the third-born child of his family, but the first to survive the plague as a child. William Shakespeare most likely attended the King's School in Stratford, but left early due to family problems. This was a school specifically for grammar, so that is what historians believe is part of the reason Shakespeare was able to write what he wrote with such little education. When Shakespeare was 18, he married Anne Hathaway, who was at the time 26. Together they had 3 children, Susanna, and a set of twins named Hamnet and Judith. After the birth of Hamnet and Judith, Shakespeare went into hiding. Historians call these 7 years of hiding Shakespeare's lost years. It is most prominently believed that he went into hiding because he poached a deer. Right after Shakespeare's lost years, his only son Hamnet unfortunately died at the age of 11 of unknown causes. His earliest works were actually poems, which is the reason for his nickname, the Bard, which directly translates to the poet. His second action was to become an actor. He acted for the Lord Chamberlain's men and for the King's men. Then he put those 2 traits together and started writing plays. He wrote many eloquent plays for the royals Queen Elizabeth I and King James I, including The Comedy of Errors.
The Comedy of Errors revolves around the family of a husband, wife, twins, and their servants. This family was split up on their way home after their boat shipwrecked during a violent storm. Aegeon is the father of this family, merchant of Syracuse, and in search of the rest of his family. Aegeon is sentenced to death right at the beginning of the play, as he arrives in Ephesus and is given a day to raise 1,000 mark ransom money. Aegeon's twins are Antipholus of Ephesus and Antipholus of Syracuse. Antipholus of Ephesus, unknown to his father, resides in Ephesus with his mother. The other twin, Antipholus of Syracuse, has been in constant search for his lost brother and mother, but causes much bewilderment when he arrives in Ephesus. What makes matters even more confusing, each twin has a matching slave. The slaves' names correspond to that of their masters, Dromio of Ephesus and Dromio of Syracuse. Each slave does what their masters ask and provide ample comical relief throughout the play. Two other important characters are Adriana, the wife of Antipholus of Ephesus, and her sister Luciana. The greatest confusion occurs when Adriana mistakes Antipholus of Syracuse for her husband, Antipholus of Ephesus, whom she locks out thinking he is already in the home with her. Adriana gets very upset at Antipholus of Syracuse, as Antipholus of Syracuse goes on to show much affection to her sister Luciana. The play begins in the city of Ephesus as the Duke leads Aegeon, who is from Syracuse, to be executed because he cannot pay the required ransom money. This is a result of strife between the cities of Ephesus and Syracuse. Aegeon goes on to tell the Duke about the tragedy of the separation of his family during a shipwreck. He and his son were rescued and taken one way, while his wife and other son were rescued and taken in the opposite direction. The Duke is moved after hearing this and allows Aegeon a day to come up with the required ransom money. We will be performing Act 1, Scene 2, which takes place in the Mart of Ephesus and highlights the first bit of confusion this play has to offer. Antipholus of Syracuse arrives in Ephesus after telling his own slave, Dromio of Syracuse, to leave, and he is approached by his twin slave, Dromio of Ephesus, who he mistakes as his own slave.
In this scene, Patrick will be playing Dromio of Ephesus, and I will be playing Antipholus of Syracuse.
Here comes the almanac of my true date. What now? How chance thou art returned so soon?
Return so soon, rather approach too late. The capon burns, the pig falls from the split. The clock hath struck in 12 upon the bell. My mistress made it 1 upon my cheek. She is so hot because the meat is so cold. The meat is cold because you come not home. You come not home because you have no stomach. You have no stomach, having broke your fast. But we that know what 'tis to fast and pray are penitent for your default today.
Stop in your wind, sir. Tell me this, I pray. Where have you left the money that I gave you?
Oh, 6 pence that I had a Wednesday last, to pay the saddler for my mistress's crupper. The saddler kept it. I have it not.
Yeah. I am not in a sport of humor now. Tell me, and daily not, where is the money? We being strangers here, how darest thou trust so great a charge from thine own custody?
I pray you, ere as you sit at dinner, I for my mistress come to you in post. If I return, I shall be post indeed, for she will score your fault upon my pate. Methinks your ma, like mine, should be your clock, and strike you home without a messenger.
Come, Dromio, come. These jests are out of season. Reserve them till a merrier hour than this. Where is the gold that I gave to thee?
To me, sir? Why, you gave no gold to me.
Come on, sir knave. Have done your foolishness, and tell me how thou hast disposed thy charge.
My charge was but to fetch you from the mart. Home to your house, the Phoenix, sir, to dinner. My mistress and her sister stays for you.
Now, as I am a Christian, answer me. In what safe place have you bestowed my money, or I will break that merry sconce of yours that stands on tricks when I am undisposed? Where is the 1,000 marks thou hast of me?
I have some marks of yours upon my pate, some of my mistress's marks upon my shoulders, but not 1,000 marks between you both. If I should pay your worship those again, perchance you will bear them not patiently.
Thy mistress's marks? What mistress, slave, hast thou? What, wilt thou flout thus unto my face? Being forbid. There, take you this, sir knave.
What mean you, sir? For God's sake, hold your hands. Nay, and you will not. I'll take my heels.
Upon my life, by some device or other.
The villain is aught of all my money. They say this town is full of cozeneg.
As nimble jugglers that deceive the eye,
Dark-working sorcerers that change the mind, soul-killing witches that deform the body, disguised cheaters prating mountebanks, and so many such like liberties of sin. If it proves so, I will be gone the sooner.
I'll go to the centaur to seek this slave. I greatly fear my money is not safe.
After this scene, Adriana mistakes Antipholus of Syracuse for her husband and brings him home for dinner. Soon after, Antipholus of Ephesus goes home only to be denied entry. Things only get more confusing. A gold chain that Antipholus of Ephesus ordered is mistakenly given to Antipholus of Syracuse. When approached by the merchant, Antipholus of Ephesus refuses to pay him because he did not receive the gold chain and is arrested for debt. Antipholus of Syracuse and his slave decide that the city is enchanted and try to leave, but the debt officer and Adriana stop them. Antipholus of Ephesus has since broken out of jail and found Adriana, who is protesting to the Duke to get who she thinks is her husband from leaving. Amelia, who reveals herself as Aegeon's wife and the mother of the two twins, finally settles this confusion. Antipholus of Ephesus is then able to go home with his wife, Adriana. Antipholus of Syracuse goes on with his affection towards Luciana, and the Duke is then also able to pardon Aegeon, who is finally reunited with his wife after all of those years apart. Comedy of Errors displays many important themes through a story of great confusion after a fragmented family is reunited after 20 years. Predominantly, the Comedy of Errors discusses the theme of identity. The constant misidentification of the Antipholus twins shows that their self-identifications are less important than how others perceive them. The characters in the play ignore many indicators that they are misidentifying people and seem to jump straight to conclusions. This play also highlights the importance of family. The split up of their family drives Antipholus of Syracuse and Aegeon to spend their entire lives on excursions to find their lost family. This also ties back in with the theme of identity because the characters feel like they are missing a part of themselves. The fuel that starts every fire throughout the play is family. Whether it is Adriana trying to get her husband, or Aegeon being locked up due to his search for the other half of his family, family seems to be the main theme in this play. In the end, the reuniting of the Aegeon's family ends up resolving the confusion and turmoil.
Bob Corbett, who has done excessive Shakespeare reviews, said that the Comedy of Errors is, quote, lots of fun and confusion, but, of course, it all ends happily ever after. Despite the silliness of the plot, it is a funny and quite enjoyable play. Personally, I very much enjoyed this play. It was all over the place, but that's what made it so funny and enjoyable. Out of all the Shakespeare plays we have read, this was definitely my favorite, mainly because of the fact that it was the only one with a happy ending.